Let's now start the homework questions from section 2.2. And for these particular questions, we need to multiply polynomials together. So the technique that I'll be using is the FOIL technique. So FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at question number 1a here. So let me start off by highlighting my first term, which is 2x. And I'll take that 2x and I'll multiply that with the 3x. So 2 times 3 is going to be 6, and x times x is going to be x squared. And then I take my 2x and then I multiply that with my positive 2 here. So that's my outer. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then the x just tags along. All right, now for my inner, so 1 times 3 is going to be positive 3x, and then 1 times 2 is going to be positive 2. And usually with some of these FOIL questions, you can usually combine the second and third terms. So 4 plus 3 is 7, so this is going to be 6x squared plus 7x plus 2 as my final answer. Okay, let's move on to letter B. My first term is 3y, so let me multiply that with the 2y. So 3y times 2y is going to be 6y squared. And then take my 3y and I multiply that with just positive 3, which is going to be positive 9. So 3 times 3 is 9, so 9y. All right, and after that I can look at my inner now. So negative 4, so negative 4 times 2y is going to be negative 8y. And then negative 4 times a positive 3 is going to be negative 12. And once again with this one here, if I take a look at my second and third terms, 9 minus 8 is going to be 1, so 1y, or I can write that as 6y squared plus y minus 12 as my final answer there. Okay, let's move on to letter C now. For letter C, let me just erase this. And let's go ahead and circle highlight the first term here. So 3x squared times x is going to be 3x to the power 3. And then 3x squared times 1 is going to be positive 3x squared. And after that, I can focus my attention on the 4 now. So this is my inner. So 4 times x is going to be positive 4x. And then 4 times 1 is going to be positive 4. And for this one, I don't have any like terms. So that is my final answer. All right, letter D. Here's my first term. So 4y squared times 3y is going to be 12y cubed. And then 4y squared times negative 1 is going to be negative 4y squared. And then moving on to the inside now. So 3 times 3y is going to be positive 9y. And 3 times negative 1 will be negative 3. So my final answer is 12y cubed minus 4y squared plus 9y minus 3. Okay, let's move on to letter E now. Let me highlight the first term here. And negative 3y times 2y is going to be negative 6y squared. And negative 3y times negative 3, that's going to be positive. So 3 times 3 is going to be 9, so 9y. And then let me erase this. And let me highlight my inside term here. So negative 4 times 2y is going to be negative 8y. And negative 4 times negative 3, that's going to be positive 12. And for this particular question here, the second and third terms you can combine. So 9 minus 8 is going to be 1, so negative 6y squared plus 1y, and then plus 12. So that's my final answer for that one. Okay, let's move on to letter L here. Let's go ahead and highlight my first term here. And basically what's happening here is we just have more terms to consider here. So 2 times 3 is going to be 6. And then 2 times negative 2y squared, that's going to be negative 4y squared. And then 2 times negative y cubed is going to be negative 2y cubed. And finally 2 times positive 4y is going to be positive 8y. All right, so that's the first round there. And then let me erase this, and then let me highlight the inner term, negative y. And negative y will now multiply with the 3, so that's going to be negative 3y. And then negative y times all of this. So negative y times negative 2y squared, that's going to be positive. A negative times a negative is positive, so positive 2y cubed. And then we're going to multiply this negative y onto the negative y cubed, so that's going to be positive y to the power 4. And then finally we have negative y times positive 4y, which is going to be negative 4y squared. All right, so definitely there's a really good chance that mistakes could have been made on that problem. But for now, we're going to combine like terms, and let's go ahead and finish off this problem here. Now I see that there's only one variable with the power of 4, so let me just move that to the front, y to the power of 4. Okay, so that one's done. And then after that, I noticed that this term here and this term here, those are like terms, and basically those will cancel each other out. So negative 2 plus 2 is going to be 0, so these guys will cancel out. And then we have, let's take a look at the green box, the green expressions here. So those are like terms. If I combine those, negative 4 minus 4 is going to be negative 8y squared. And then at the very end, what else do we have here? And then we have 8y minus 3y. So 8 minus 3 is going to be 5, so positive 5y. And then we also have this very 6 at the very end. So y to the power 4 minus 8y squared plus 5y plus 6 is your final answer. Okay, let's move on to question number 2 now. Question number 2, we need to multiply. Now for question number 2, you should definitely get used to this technique called the square double square technique. And for all these questions for section number 2, I believe we have A, B, C, D, all the way to H. We're going to be using the square double square technique to simplify these questions here. So for sure you can FOIL this out if you like to, but anytime you have this power of 2 here, it's a very good way to do the square double square technique. All right, so let's go ahead and apply the square double square technique. So what does the square, that first kind of set of instructions there, what does that mean? Well, you take your first term, which is a, and you square it, right? So if I square that, that's going to be a squared. Okay. And then let's move on to the doubling part. What does it mean to double? So what you do now is you take your a and your b, and what you're going to do is you're going to multiply those. A times b is ab, and then you double it. If I want to double it, you put a 2 there. Okay, so that's what the double means. All right, so you take your first term and your last term, you multiply it. So a times b is ab, and then you double it. Doubling ab is 2ab, so plus 2ab. And then finally, the last one is you square it. So what do? You just square this last term. So b squared is just b squared. And that's your final answer. Okay, so this is the square double square technique. Okay, let's go ahead and apply the square double square technique to the next problem here. So if I square the first term, that's the same thing as 2x, and you square it. So that's going to be 2x times 2x, which is going to be 4x squared. So if I square this first term, that's going to be 4x squared. All right, and then what you do next is you take these two terms, you multiply it. What's 2x times 1? Well, 2x times 1 is 2x. And then how do you double this? How do you double 2x? Well, times it by 2, which is 4x. And then finally, what you need to do is you need to square this last term. So what's 1 squared, which is 1 times 1? Well, that's just positive 1. So 4x squared plus 4x plus 1, that's how you apply the square double square technique. All right, so once you do enough of these, you'll get used to the square double square technique. So how do I square x? So it's going to be x squared. All right, so so basically what happens if I multiply these together? So what happens if I multiply x with negative y? So that's going to be negative xy. And then how do I double that? Well, you put a 2 here. So it'll be negative 2xy. And then finally, you want to square this last term. What is negative y squared? Well, that's negative y times negative y, which is positive y squared. And that's the square. Once again, this is the square double square technique. Okay, let's move on to letter D. Okay, so let me highlight that. How do you square 3x? Well, that's the same thing as 3x times 3x. That's how you square it. So 3x times 3x is going to be 9x squared. All right, and then you multiply these together. What's 3x times 2x? Sorry, what's 3x times 2y? Well, that's 6xy. And how do you double that? Well, how do you double 6? It's going to be 12xy. So positive 12xy. And then finally, the last part is how do you square 2y? Well, that's going to be 2y times 2y, which is going to be 4y squared. Okay, let's go ahead and do a few more of these square double square techniques. Okay, so over here, how do I square that? Well, that's negative x times negative x, which is going to be positive x squared. Okay, and after that, you take the negative x and the negative 2y, you multiply them together. So that's going to be positive 2xy. And then how do you double that? Well, you take this 2 and you double it, so that's going to be a 4, right? So positive 4xy. And then finally, how do you square the last term, negative 2y? Well, what's negative 2y times negative 2y? That's going to be positive 4y squared. And that's how you apply the square, double, square technique. So once again, square, double, square. Okay, let's move on to letter F. Okay, so negative 3x squared. So negative 3x squared times negative 3x squared is going to be positive 9x to the power of 4. Okay, and then what you do next is you take that term and that term, you multiply them. So that's going to be negative 6x squared y squared. And then how do you double that? Well, that's going to be negative 12x squared y squared. And then finally, you want to square this last term here. So that's the same thing as 2y squared times itself, which is going to be positive 4y to the 4. So once again, this is the square, double, square technique. All right, so 2 more to go, and then we're done this particular section here. So how do I square that? So negative 2x squared times negative 2x squared is going to be 4x to the 4. And after that, you want to multiply these two guys together in green. So if I multiply those together, I get positive 6x squared y squared. And then how do I double that? That's going to be positive 12x squared y squared. And then finally, at the very end, I need to take this last term here and I need to square that. So negative 3y squared times negative 3y squared, that's going to be positive 9y to the 4. Okay, let's move on to the last one here. 4x squared, if I square that, that's going to be 16x to the 4. 4 times negative 3, I'm thinking that's negative 12. How do I double that? Negative 24x squared y cubed. And finally, how do I square that? That's going to be positive 9y to the 6. So make sure you're okay with this 9y to the 6. That's basically negative 3y cubed times negative 3y cubed. So remember, negative 3 times negative 3, that's the positive 9. And then the 3 and the 3, you're just adding them, right? So 3 plus 3 is going to be 6. Okay, so that's it for section 2. And now let's move on to question 3, where I need to multiply these. So we'll do all of these. Now, one thing that you need to know is for all the questions on section 3, they're designed to be a difference of squares, which we'll learn a little bit more in the factoring section. But you'll notice that all these problems here, one side's always going to be positive, one side's always going to be negative. So make sure you kind of recognize that for this problem here so that we can take a little shortcut here. So I just want to emphasize that all these problems, one of the signs in the middle will be positive and the other side will be negative. Now, why is that important? So when we apply the FOIL technique here, let me just erase this. If I take a times a, that's going to be a squared. And if I do a times b, that's going to be positive b. Now on the inside, because this is negative, negative b times a is going to be negative, sorry, I actually messed up my FOIL steps here. So sorry, a times a is a squared. And then a times b is going to be positive ab. And then negative b times a is going to be negative ba. And then negative b times b is going to be negative b squared. What you're going to notice is that the second and third terms, they're like terms, but they cancel each other out. So they go away, and you're left with just a squared minus b squared. Okay, so how do I do this really quickly? Because the signs are opposite, one's negative, one's positive, all you have to do is the first guy, which is a times a, which is a squared, and then you just do the last terms. Negative b times b is going to be negative b squared. So it's just half the steps when you're foiling when you have a difference of squares here where one side is positive, one side is negative. So let's just remember that while we're doing these kind of questions here. So one side is positive, one side is negative. Okay, great. So what that means is I take my 2x and times by my 2x, which is going to be 4x squared. and then I take my last term, 1 times -1, which is -1, and that's it. All right, so we can do that because one sign is positive, one sign is negative. Sorry, one sign is negative and one sign is positive. So that's why we can kind of take a shortcut for these kind of problems. So x times x is going to be x squared, and negative y times positive y is going to be negative y squared. And that's it. Moving on, 3x times 3x is going to be 9x squared, and 2y times negative 2y is going to be negative 4y squared. And then we're done. All right, so for letter E, negative x times negative x is going to be positive x squared, and negative 2y times positive 2y is going to be negative 4y squared. That's it, we're done. Okay, so negative x squared times negative x squared is going to be positive x to the 4, and negative 2y squared times positive 2y squared is going to be negative 4y to the 4. All right, so we're multiplying numbers with numbers and variables with variables, and we just add the powers if we're multiplying variables. All right, for G, negative 3x times negative 3x is going to be positive 9x squared, and positive 2y times negative 2y is going to be negative 4y squared. Okay, negative 2x times negative 2x is going to be 4x to the 4, and 3y times negative 3y is going to be negative 9y to the 4. Okay, and moving on to I, x cubed times x cubed is x to the 6, and negative 3y squared times positive 3y squared is going to be negative 9y to the 4. Okay, and for letter J, negative 5x squared times negative 5x squared is going to be positive 25x to the 4, and then the last two terms multiplied, that's going to be negative 4y to the 6. All right, so some good work there. Let's move on to section 4 now. For section number 4, I need to find the area of the geometric figure. So I think I've just assigned 2 problems here. Let's do the square here. So for a square, we know that all sides are the same. So if I have a 3x plus 2 over there, then this will be a 3x plus 2. And basically to find the area, this is my length, this is my width. I just multiply those two expressions together. So area equals to 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. Okay, and then basically this is another FOIL problem. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared, and 3x times 2 is going to be positive 6x. On the inside there, I have another positive 6x, and then 2 times 2 is going to be 4. And you'll notice that I can definitely combine like terms there. So 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. So that's my final answer. Another way you could have done this problem is you notice that these two expressions are the same, so we know that that's the same thing as 3x plus 2 all to the power of 2. And if you wanted to, you can also apply the square double square technique. So how do I square 3x? So that's going to be 9x squared, and 3x times 2 is going to be 6x, and then how do I double that? That's going to be 12x, and then how do I square the 2? That's going to be plus 4. So you can also use the square double square technique. You will get the same answer. For D, I guess this is a circle. So the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared. And what's my radius? My radius is 2x plus 1. So this will be pi bracket 2x plus 1 all to the power 2. Now over here, we can use the square double square technique. All right, so how do I square this? Well, 2x times 2x is going to be 4x squared. And what's 2x times 1? That's going to be 2x. And how do I double that? That's going to be plus 4x. And then finally, how do I square the 1? Well, 1 times 1 is just 1. And there you go. There's my final answer for that one. All right, there's 2 more problems to go, and then we're done the homework questions for this particular section here. So for question number 6, I did assign 2 questions where you do want to cube your binomial here, so x plus 1 to the power 3. So this one is a bit of a longer problem because there's quite a bit of algebra steps here. So when there's a power 3, you need to take your binomial x plus 1 and multiply it by itself 3 times. And then we have our FOIL problem here, so x times x is x squared, x times 1 is plus x, and then 1 times x is plus x, and then 1 times 1 is plus 1. Let's go ahead and simplify the inside here. So x plus x is going to be 2x. So this is going to be x squared plus 2x plus 1. And then we'll multiply that with x plus 1. Okay, let me just erase all that. And then we have one more FOIL step to go. All right, so x squared times x is going to be x cubed. And then x squared times 1 is going to be plus x squared. And then we have 2x times x, which is going to be positive 2x squared. And then 2x times 1 is going to be positive 2x. And the last one here, 1 times x is going to be plus x, and 1 times 1 is going to be plus 1. All right, from there, we just need to collect our like terms here. So here's a like term there. So that's going to be x cubed plus, well, there's an invisible 1 here, right? So 1 plus 2 is going to be 3, so plus 3x squared. And then plus, and then 2x plus 1x is going to be 3x, and then we have a plus 1 at the very end. So x cubed plus 3x squared plus 3x plus 1. All right, let's wrap up with letter C here. And with C, there's a power 3 there. So let me start off by expanding this 3 times, or writing it out 3 times. So 2x plus y times 2x plus y times 2x plus y. All right, so that's what that 3 does. You need to multiply the inside 3 times. And let me go ahead and do a FOIL step here. You can definitely use the square double square technique, but I'll just go ahead and just FOIL this out the long way. So this will be 4x squared. And that'll be positive 2xy. And then on the inside here, that's going to be positive 2xy. And y times y is going to be positive y squared. All right, and if I combine the like terms here, I have 4x squared plus 4xy plus y squared, all in brackets, and then I'll multiply that by the 2x plus y. So that guy just comes down. Okay, and then finally, let's go ahead and do another FOIL step here. So 4x squared times 2x is going to be 8x to the power 3. And then 4x squared times y is going to be positive 4x squared y. And then I have a 4xy times a 2x, which will be positive 8x squared y. And then 4xy times y is positive 4xy squared. And then y squared times 2x is going to be positive 2 xy squared, and y squared times y is going to be positive y cubed. All right, so we're almost done. We just need to collect like terms here. There's some like terms right there, and there's some like terms right there. So my final answer is 8x cubed. So that guy comes down there. Positive. Well, what's 4 plus 8? Well, that's going to be positive 12x squared y. And then what is 4 plus 2? That's going to be positive 6xy squared, and then the plus y cubed at the very end. And that's your final answer for this video.